Welcome to the Love Local Chicagoland podcast. Here we invite people and nonprofits from our local communities to share their stories and their voices. Through amplifying their message, we share their genuine human experiences that connect us all. Our goal is to make our communities more than just a place to live, but instead a place to thrive. Tune in to hear what makes our community so special right here on the Love Local Chicagoland podcast. Hey, what's going on, friends? Jason here with Love Local Chicagoland podcast. I am excited to be here today on the show with Brian Shelton of Harper College. He is the associate professor and coordinator of mass communications. My friends, he runs the media department. They have so much cool stuff at Harper, and from their radio station to their new theater that they have there that they invite you, the community member, to be able to invite in. Plus, just an awesome program to be able to help uplift and help creators create. I think we're going to dive into it. Probably we're going to nerd out a little bit, but why the world needs more creatives, why we need to start telling more stories, because I think we could just be real with it. We're kind of in this history, part of history where it's kind of a hot mess. So what better way to get through that, but then of local stories of people that we're connected with and that we know. So anyway, we all have a story, and I'm looking forward to bringing Brian's story out today. Brian, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Hot mess is how I would describe me. Yeah.
Yeah. Not you, me. I'm a hot mess, right? I got the new glasses. I'm like trying to navigate everything. Yeah, man, I'm excited to have this conversation with you. I originally saw a post on LinkedIn that I think Andy John, which I think many knows is a local leader and a restaurateur for sure in the Schaumburg and northern suburbs of the area, shared something, and I was like, wow, you were looking for interns, I think is what it was. Yeah. And that's where we started our conversation in that field. But I think pretty quickly we kind of learned that we're both kind of like nerds when it comes to this media stuff, and we also have a vision of like, hey, it's important to let our teach our kids this stuff, especially as this world changes, because stories matter. And there's storytelling, those types of things with media, with podcasting, with video. We could really do some good in our world. So I'm looking forward to this conversation today. But before and done me talking, let's tell people a little bit about you and what your life before Harper.
Life before Harper. Yeah, I don't know. I grew up in Kentucky and went to school in Ohio and in Illinois, and studied broadcast operations, and then studied communication with a master's degree, and worked professionally while I was going to school, and then continued working professionally when I got into the academic realm of things. And I kind of stopped working professionally in the media business once my daughter was born, because I decided, like, you can be a good professor and you can be a good dad and you can be a good media producer, but I wasn't sure that I could be all three of those things. And I wanted to be a professor. Yeah, 3 was hard. So I wanted to be a good professor and a good dad. And so for 14 years, I ran the media program at Rock Valley College in Rockford, Illinois. Awesome. Fantastic program up there that's still going really, really strong, producing a lot of great storytellers, a lot of great artists out of that program, including an Academy Award nominee, Bing Liu, guy who directed a documentary called Minding the Gap. Maybe heard of it. Came out the same year as Free Solo. Everybody knows Free Solo when I mentioned that one, the rock climbing documentary. But so they were in contention with each other. So there's a lot of talent up there telling really great stories. But I had the opportunity to come down here to Harper College and start yet another media program. And I have to say that I enjoy the startup process of building media programs and running them. The running them is fun too, but I had been running that program there for 14 years after starting in it. And so it was kind of a nice idea to do something different again.
Why do you like the startup process? What do you think, what draws you to that?
I think there's a lot of things that draw me to that. One of them is that you can, if you're honest with yourself, you can evaluate maybe what you didn't do well the last time. And when you're coming into a new situation, correcting those mistakes and trying to make that next part better. Oh, yeah. And then I think it's kind of exciting. It's exciting. You're coming in, you're doing something new, you're working with new people, you're getting all these people together, trying to get everybody on board with what your vision is, and listening to them and seeing what their vision is and trying to put that together to create something that everybody's happy with. So I like that process.
That's cool. I think that it would be, it's really cool. I think especially like the time that you're doing this, like media is changing too.
Yes.
Like the foundational principles are still there, but like it's really evolving to create curriculum around that. And that's, I would say it's a special, unique skill to see what's going to be needed as you continue to evolve.
Well, it's not only the evolution of the foundational skills in the curriculum, it's the evolution of the equipment as well. Because I mean, when you're running a media program, the equipment plays such a huge role, even though it's about storytelling, right?
Sure.
But if you don't have the tools to tell the story, it's a problem. So I'll give you an example. I bought a television switcher, which you have over here for your podcast, back in 2000 for $45,000.
That's crazy.
Right? And you can buy one today for $300. And it does pretty much the same thing.
For sure.
Right? It's not exactly the same thing, but it pretty much does the same thing. So you're able to do a lot more
too.
It's smaller. Yeah.
It's definitely smaller.
Definitely smaller. And you can do so many interesting things now with the kind of equipment and facilities that we have. And you're not so place bound, always stuck in a studio and that sort of thing. So I like that too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. What has you excited about Harper? And you're building up this program now. How many years are you in it?
So I've been at Harper. This is my 10th anniversary this year.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Congratulations on 10 years. And it's still growing. You're still growing and you're still evolving this program. Yeah. What has you excited about what's going on at Harper right now?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, we started this audio video technology program that's a marriage between what's happening in the music department and what's happening in mass communication. So a lot of students who are really interested in the recording side of the business, and then you have a lot of students who are really interested in the video production side of the business. But something I've always tried to get through to students is that it's one thing to go out and shoot a story, and it's one thing to go out and record a story with sound, but if you can't put the two together, and we see this all the time, we have people who are really good filmmakers who can't record sound to save their lives, right?
Totally.
I've just met with a filmmaker last night. He was like, the biggest weakness on my movie was the audio, because I'm not good at audio.
And you'll lose people if you don't have good audio, especially nowadays. I mean, you could get good audio relatively cheaply in comparison to what it was back in the day. You'll lose people.
You absolutely lose them. People will put up with bad video. They will not put up with bad audio. Yeah, it's fact, right? So what's cool is you have these students who are learning very serious heavy duty recording techniques and mixing and mastering, but they're also learning the video production side of it and putting that together, along with, they also take a networking class, computer networking class, because everything's computerized now, right? We're networking all of our cameras together, that sort of thing. So watching that program grow from, yes, we think this can happen, to our classes are maxed out every single semester and we need to add more capacity. That has been a really, really exciting thing to see happen at the college, and to see it's going to continue to grow. Yeah. And that's really exciting.
I think that's awesome, Brian. I know when me and you first talked, we were talking about, and we'll get into this a little bit later, about how the world needs more storytellers, like more creatives that can help tell a story, but use the medium of audio and video, which is right now is everything. We're in this time in history, in my opinion, where we could be our own media companies, as businesses, as nonprofits, as universities, with not $45,000 tools, but we could do this much, much cheaper now. But that's great. But it's the stories within it, which is what is going to make those medians great. Yeah. So I love that you help give those kids the I feel like foundational pieces that really allow them to like build and chisel upwards within their own creative flow, but they get the basics, they get the foundational skills that you're building around that certificate program. You guys have a cool you were showing me the radio station, and then that little podcast, you're doing a new podcast studio too. What's going on there?
Yeah, so we have we are an FM radio station, WHCM. It's also harperradio.com. And we've been on the air as an FM radio station for 25 years. And
you were playing Green Day the other day. I totally randomly fell across it, and I'm like, I can't believe I didn't know about Harper Radio before this conversation. But it was 89.1,
88.3,
88.3. So I'm off.
Yeah.
But I remember just like flipping through it, and I'm like, this is Green Day on Harper. This is awesome.
Yeah,
keep going.
Right? Yeah, you never know what's going to be there. Yeah. So that station, it's actually been around since the early 70s, since the college opened. But as an FM station, it'll be 25 years next year, which is really cool. That station is really awesome because it's, if I can say that, and the radio station is really awesome, right? Because the students run it. The students decide what gets played. They create the programming, they create the advertising, they create the swag, they create everything, they manage it. And then my job as an advisor is to make sure that they do it within the bounds of the law, and that they do it within the bounds of what the college is expecting of them, right? But otherwise, they're able to go and do their thing. And one of the reasons that I think that we're really successful is that we have our fundamental policy at the radio station is that failure is an option, which is the opposite of what most places are, right?
I like it. Yeah.
Everyone else, it seems like failure is not an option. For us, failure is an option. Go on the air, do something new, do something fun. If you mess up, you mess up. It's fine. We're an educational radio station. Let's go for it. And we don't want to go mess up on purpose. Right?
Sure.
So
you allow a place to fail forward.
Fail
you
forward.
Can make mistakes and you can rebound and move forward and learn something that next time you're not.
That's right.
I love that motto.
Yeah. And that's what we try to do there. That's on our on-air side. Off air, we are building a new I call it a podcast booth. I don't know if I want to call it a studio. It's a podcast booth because our main concern is sound control, right? So we're building a sound isolated room inside one of our classrooms next to our media lab, so that our students can schedule time in that space, and they can come in and they can record. It can be a radio show or a podcast or an interview or anything that they want inside of that space in a scheduled way, and they don't have to worry about it being on the air. On the FM side over at the radio station, right? Because there are things you can do in a podcast or on YouTube that you can't necessarily do on an FM radio station. Things you can say, things that you can talk about.
Sure. So, especially when the radio station is owned and run by the school.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, the board of trustees, who are wonderful, they hold the license, and we certainly don't want to make them. We don't want them to question us.
Yeah, exactly. So
exciting things happening over there. Yeah.
Well, I think it's great. You're giving kids the platform to be able to create, to build, to fail forward. What else do you need when you're that age? You know, how have you seen in your 10 years there? How have you seen this program evolve to like where you're at today? You said earlier, like there's more and more kids coming into this program.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. In the beginning, a lot of the students were very, I would say, very journalism focused, and now we have a lot of students who are film focused. They want to get into filmmaking. We're not there yet as an institution into creating a filmmaking program, although we do provide all of the essential skills and technology they need to go into a filmmaking program if they want to transfer out into one of those. And there's several schools in Chicago who do a really good job at that, right? So we don't necessarily need
DePaul being one of them.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Maybe we don't need to be that, and maybe we do. We'll see. So there is a lot more focus on that. A lot of focus on folks coming in wanting to do podcasts as well, doing video podcasts. And looking at it from that perspective, because that's really popular. And so, I see that evolving quite a bit. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then you have the new theater, which is the theater's not just for college students, but you're inviting the community in. You're doing some pretty unique programs around that theater. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that project has been going on for almost 3 years now, maybe over 3 years. I came to the college and I said, we offer all of these courses in film here at the school, and film is such a powerful medium for storytelling and for education. So it'd be really great if we had a place on this campus where you could properly show a film, proper projection, proper sound, proper seating, and, working that through the system, finally getting it onto the college's strategic plan and having the board of trustees approving it, right? Because it's an investment, right?
It's beautiful. It's definitely an investment.
Yeah, definitely investment. So it seats 51. It's fully accessible, which includes seats that pull out so you can have wheelchair access, and also arms on chairs so that you can transfer from a chair into one of the theater seats, and also assisted listening devices for those with hearing aids, right? So we have those as well. And it's laser projection, 4K, and Dolby 7.1 surround sound. And it's just, it's an absolutely fantastic experience to sit in that room and watch a film. Just Wednesday night, last night, we had a local filmmaker from Chicago come in and show his film and then do a Q&A with students. What a great opportunity, right? Yeah. So students can sit with the director and have a conversation with him about the choices he made and why he made those, right? And so it's there for the students for classes. And then almost every Tuesday we have a film running that's open to the public. And so right now we're in the middle. In October, we're in our Spanish film series that runs through October, and then we go back into our Hollywood film series that runs on Tuesdays. So it's a really cool thing. So,
cool. And if somebody wants to come in off the streets on Tuesdays, how do they get to know about this and what's playing?
Yeah, so it's all over the college website. So you can search film at Harper College or film series at Harper College on the website, that sort of thing. But we run films most Tuesday nights at 6:00, and it's Building E. Of course, you've got to know the campus to know Building E, but it's Building
Google
E.
It.
Yeah. You can find it on the campus map. Yeah. So, yeah.
Beautiful. And so you got a great certificate program that you've built up. You have the new theater. You have the radio station, Radio Done Differently on 88.3. I messed it up earlier. And you're building this new podcast studio, all to help people. Guessing, but what's the overall goal? Like, what's the thought process behind that for you guys, and from your own level, like, senior position in building these programs out?
Yeah, I think there's a lot there. With the theater, I look at it as a way that, as I said, I think that film is the greatest storytelling tool and educational tool that we have, right?
Yes.
So like we have our Spanish film series going right now. What a great way to learn about different cultures, right? To come and watch a film, and these films are made in 5 different countries, right? And every place is different. So you get a chance to do that, right? So we have that. But from an educational perspective is that, we're able to continue to grow and offer, state of the market, state of the art technology and programs to our students, where they can come to Harper for considerably less money than what they would pay if they were going to even a state school in another city, or going into one of the private schools in Chicago, which a lot of the students who study media production wind up going to one of those 2 schools. And, one semester of tuition at one of those schools would pay for you to go to Harper for probably 15 years, so
for sure.
It's a real opportunity.
Plus the gas to get there.
And the gas and everything else. Yeah. So Harper allows our students to be able to study, in state of the market, state of the art facilities with great faculty and learning all the things they want to learn, but be able to stay home and work and take care of their families and save money. Right. And I hate to bring it to just money, but like, I have a daughter. She's 13 years old. She's going to be going to college in a few years, right? And I think about, what is it going to cost for her to go to school, right? And she's going to go to Harper, right? Because that's a lot of money to be saved by going to someplace like that.
Yeah,
so.
I think our kids are looking at Harper too, and they're only 8. But I mean, I think that's my wife and I's philosophy. Like, you get foundational skills at, especially when you have a strong community college like we do with Harper. We would follow that district too. Like, why not?
Yeah.
And especially you're looking to make your you're looking to, how can we be better? How can we stay up with the current times? That's huge. And not every community college can do that. So the fact that we have this in our backyard, I think, is a huge thing to the neighbors that live here, especially those that have creative youth or even adults. But I think these skills, they go back to, like, you could build a studio like this with these skills. You could create your own things with, being able to tell stories. And I so agree with you. I never heard somebody say it quite like you, but with film, like that, and for me, I think that's why I fell in love with media in general, is its ability to tell a story. But film, when you can put a visual and you could pull out emotions through those visuals while you tell a story, you really could do some impact within our world. So it's cool you guys are building that type of program at Harper.
Well, I'm not to interrupt you, but like the film that we showed Tuesday night was really interesting. It's called Alegria, and it's part of the Spanish Film Festival that we're doing. And it was an educational experience for everybody there, because everybody asked at the end of the film, we're confused. Where are we? Right. And the host of the film said, well, you're in Africa. You're in the Spanish part of Morocco. There's Spanish Morocco and French Morocco. And then a lot of the folks who live in this part of Spanish Morocco are Sephardic Jews. Because we were confused, like, what is going on here, right? And it's what an educational experience to sit with someone and watch this film that's about a culture that you might not necessarily be familiar with, or a place that you're familiar with, and learn about it.
And you can learn and grow through the art of stories, right? I totally agree. It's when we talked, it was kind of talking back on the storytelling piece. and why we think the world needs more creatives. And I feel like me and you probably could do a whole show on that piece in our dreamer states. But for you, why do you think the world needs more creatives and more storytellers this time in history?
Well, I think there are more stories to be told is part of it. I was just thinking this morning, I was going to get my hair cut this morning, right? And I'm early, and I'm walking downtown Barrington, and I walked into a men's shop there. And I walked in, I started talking to the guy in there, and the guy who I was speaking to turned out to be the owner and the founder of the business. And he's 72 years old and going to work every day, and he sells menswear, right? And all I could think immediately was, I'd like to do a story on this guy, right? A guy who's run a menswear company his entire life, and he's 72 years old, living in the suburbs. Like, what is his life like? How did he get in this business, right? And so why is that important? People should know about their community.
Totally.
Right. That's the thing that I've always believed in, is that you should know about the community that you live in and the people who are around you, so that you connect with that.
Totally. It's so beautiful, man. That's where I fell in love with all this, was just that. It was in my own way. We were doing in 2017, 2018 community videos of businesses, and we were just holding our phones up like this. Hey, we're at the taco shop, or hey, we're here at Chicago Culinary Kitchen. And we were investing in money in 2020 to really with the hope and the goal to like make a local diners, drive-ins, and dives, and also to highlight our nonprofits with like a Love Your Neighbor series. And then COVID hit and everything changed, but the stories changed. So to your point, like, we were going into these businesses that were been around in our community 30, 40, 50 years or more, and getting their stories.
Right.
And it was like, holy shit. Like, this is beautiful. And what was beautiful about it is you saw a world like being punched in the teeth, and you could see we're a part of something bigger where we're being meant to divide, but you're hearing people's stories in the community that have all different views. But our stories were so similar, and they were so interesting. So to me, I totally agree with your power of like local stories and local radio and those things, because bringing those stories to life like humanizes our community, right? Like, it's life's short. It's weird right now. Let's love our neighbor, and let's help amplify their stories, because that story of that man probably should be amazing. Like,
when you say love your neighbor too, I think that being able to tell these stories is also this thing where if you know your neighbor, it's harder to not like your neighbor. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, maybe your neighbor is the guy who leaves his trash can out 3 days after the trash day. And you're like, man, I can't believe Bob does that. I don't really know Bob, right? Once you know your neighbor, maybe you can have a conversation with your neighbor about that. Right. But I think about that in the context of telling stories about businesses and towns and that sort of thing, right? Now that I've met this guy at the shop, am I more likely to go to this local business and spend my money there because I know that I'm supporting him and supporting his business, or going to a national chain and spending my money there, right? And so I like to spend my money local, right? And so those local stories, I think, are really important for that.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. And we didn't even talk about that, I don't think, beforehand. That wasn't a prep, but I totally agree with that. And I think that's why we're called Love Local. Like, this story matters. Talking to somebody at Harper College and learning about the programs that are available in our local community to help our kids grow and help adults that want to go learn a new skill go get it, because they're going to put in the work. The foundation's there in our community. You just got to go get it, right? But it's also the other stories. It's of our local businesses. It's of our local nonprofits. Like, I've learned over the last 4 years, like the amount of nonprofit hustlers that are out there, these executive directors that are just straight up doing amazing work. Like, let's get their stories out there, because the people that they're serving are like people that need help. But I didn't know about that before I met that person that, in that nonprofit. And I think so many of us are doing that, are experiencing that, I hope. So, because what if we learned about nonprofits? What if we understood that it's better to go to your mom and pop instead of some corporate chain? And we put that in, we could be supporting our neighbors. We could be uplifting our neighbors just by telling stories. Yeah.
Well, and knowing those stories too. Like, I met you a while back, and we were having a conversation. And I said, hey, I got to get some t-shirts made. Do you know some place, right? And you hooked me up with a local t-shirt vendor who's in your building, right? Yeah. I could have very easily gone to Office Depot or Office Max or one of the big Vistaprint or whatever, right? But spend your money local, right?
Totally.
But if I don't know where to go, that makes it hard, right?
You spend money local, but when it's local, you get to know the sense of who those people are.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I talk about brand is not anything more than how you make people feel at the end of the day. And that's how I describe it. And there's logos and all those other things. But when you know that local brand story,
right.
when you know that t-shirt company has like 2 awesome men running it with people that are around it that are highly creative, faith-driven individuals, you're like, oh, yeah, of course I want to give my money to Blink Tees when I need t-shirts.
Right.
It's also, as a friend of theirs, it's kind of cool to have a friend that could put anything on a t-shirt or if it sucks, they could tell you like, hey, don't do that. And go from there, but there's power in stories and there's power in knowing the person that you are, that you're purchasing from. And in this digital world, we could go app based on everything. We could go Amazon everything, but is that, yes, it's efficient for many things, but we can't forget our local small businesses, our local mom and pops, are the backbones of our community. They have been for generations. We can't let that go because it's just easier to order on app.
Yeah.
I'd rather, order Popeyes through your Uber Eats or whatever it is. Yeah, it's efficient, but like make sure you go to I'm a Palatine guy, Reps Burgers, or make sure, you go support the Chicago Prime Italians or Steakhouse with Andy John. Like those local owned places, the stories, because of the stories that are in them, are so important for us to make sure that we continue to support, so that us because I think it's healthy for us as neighbors to understand the difference in the value in small businesses. And those stories are very similar to ours.
Yeah. And, towns get really boring too when there's no local businesses, and the local business can't survive because everybody's spending their money on an app, right?
Yeah.
Instead of going to the locals. So yeah, it's much more interesting that way. So,
well, my friend, I didn't know we were going here.
Sorry.
But man, I appreciate it. I think for me, it's you build businesses. We're trying to build Love Local right now. We just opened the studio up to businesses and nonprofits with the goal and the hope to help them amplify their voice. So sometimes when you get into that so much that you forget the reasons why you do things. And I think this, I think all the conversation is a part of it, because we're very much about really building a culture around like uplifting and creating youth creators that have good hearts. But it's very much about like, what can we do to help create a better tomorrow? And if we tell more stories, I think we could do that. So I appreciate you having this conversation with me and going where I didn't think we were going to go. I think it's pretty cool. But anyway, anything else you want to talk about with Harper College, or anything else? Like, what else you got, man? Let's have some, let's go deep on something else. I'm ready, Brian.
Well, I mean, I am a champion of Harper College, so I have no compunction of advertising for the institution. I think a lot of people in this area may not know this, that we're a top 25 community college in the country. Actually, I think we're top 10 now in community college in the country. That's a really big deal,
That's
right?
Awesome.
And the other thing that I think that people may know but may not be quite aware of it is that Harper College is now officially what's called a Hispanic serving institution, which means that over 30% of our students identify as being Hispanic in some way. And what that means is the demographics of this area that we live and work in have dramatically changed over the last 15 years, right? And so that has been a really interesting part of the college. And you see that, I've seen that just in the 10 years that I've been here, working here, watching the demographics of this community change. So I think that's something to look at. And so who are those people? Who are those local businesses? Who's coming in? What are they starting? Restaurants, coffee shops, dry cleaner, whatever, right? Grocery store, what have you, right? Who are those stories and why are they there? I think that's really interesting. I think the college is trying to do a really good job of supporting that larger demographic at the school with different programs that we have there. And it's a really great opportunity for our community to continue growing, which is what we all want, right? You're in Palatine, right? You want to see the community grow.
And kudos to changing with the times. It's not, that's not always easy to do, and to have the foresight to be able to see what is needed. But I feel from everything I've learned from Harper College, that is very much what is happening in that institution. And it's not just their media and production department that you're in, and that you're associate professor for. But if people want to connect with you, where can they connect with you at?
Yeah, so harpercollege.edu, but is the college website, and you can search for mass communication, that sort of thing. And of course, I can. You want to give out an email or anything like that?
Or you just maybe say hit them up on LinkedIn.
Hit me up on LinkedIn. You can hit me up on LinkedIn if you like. That's really easy to do. I connect with a lot of people on there. That's a funny site. Do you? Maybe I shouldn't ask this. Do you pay for the service where you can tell who's looking at your profile?
So I have, absolutely.
I don't, and I find it's like 400 people have looked at your profile, and I'm like, who's looking at my profile?
I definitely have. As we build and get in this stage and the studio build and ramping up, I did take away that cost, but I do see value in being a premium member and that sales navigator that they have. I wasn't using it like I should have to be able to help generate income. Therefore, I didn't care who was looking at my site for right now, but we'll bring it back someday.
I just find it an interesting concept, like you can pay to see who's looking at you.
Like I said, there's value in that if you're looking for a job or something like that. I guess it could be. But Brian, I appreciate you in the conversation today, and my guess is we'll probably have another one of these as we continue to evolve.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. My friends, it's about supporting local, and no better way to support local than to support your local community college. And you see all the cool stuff that they're doing there in our local community. Me personally, I love the conversation around what they're doing within their media department and with the radio station, the podcast studio, and the theater. I think the world needs more creatives for all the reasons that we said. Now we have the opportunity to tell a lot more stories to kind of bounce off of what Brian was saying. And a lot more stories are needed to be able to be told, because the narratives that we see out there, they could either be healthy or they cannot. And my advice is let's find the positive stories that are in our world, and let's focus in on doubling down on those so that we can have a better tomorrow. Go check out Harper College, connect with Brian, my friends, support local, love local, and we're stronger together. Peace.